Hello and welcome to This Week in Metropolis. The transmission will begin shortly.
Yep, King P here.
And Steelio7.
And welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis, which is not a big episode, but the final one of our season 3, which is sad because we will be taking a couple of weeks break, but fantastic that we've made it, especially as last season, season 2, consisted of one episode.
One special episode.
We're 10 times better this season, I feel, than last season. But an important start to this particular episode is that we have a public service announcement that needs to go out on this particular one, which over to you.
Yeah, it does indeed. After last week's show, which we kicked off with the chat about green initiatives and certain ones that my wife has taken up, and credit to her for it. She listened back to the show and instantly started shaking her head as I started talking about the toothpaste topic that we said. And for those who haven't heard it or have forgotten about it, it was basically...
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you, first of all. You should have listened to it twice. But we discussed the fact that she approached me on the subject of changing our toothpaste supply because the tubes aren't fully recyclable. So she was looking into alternatives, and I had maybe cut out part of the story that she told me and assumed that they were tablets that you essentially crunched and then your teeth were clean miraculously. So as she was listening to the show, she was shaking her head and stopped. She paused the show and said to me, "This is proof again that you do not listen to me when I'm telling you things." And I said, "What are you talking about?" So it turns out that they're not tablets that you just crunch and your teeth are then clean. They are tablets that, as you start to crunch them, turn into a paste with the moisture in your mouth, and you then use that paste with a toothbrush to brush your teeth like you would a normal scenario. The benefit is that they're coming in a cardboard box or a small box that you can then recycle, less non-recyclable stuff. So full apologies. She's right. I do tend to take snippets of what she tells me, mainly because I'm distracted probably by something else. I'm a terrible husband, and
Don't leave me.
Please forgive me. Our kids need us both together. Thank you.
That's beautiful. And let that be a lesson to everyone who listens. Listen to your better halves.
Yeah, 100%.
On concerns like this, and the hearing what the toothpaste actually is like, it sounds a lot more logical than our discussion last week, which was
it does, yeah. But who was it? Was it you, Matt, who said that you can buy toothpaste in a glass jar, or did someone else tell me that?
Can you?
Yeah,
apparently
another alternative. This must have cropped up. One of our listeners actually.
Tread very carefully though, because get this right, otherwise you're gonna have to do another apology.
No, I have told the wife about this as well, and she was intrigued. But one of our listeners actually messaged me and said you can actually buy toothpaste in a glass jar. Which again, I mean, what are you doing with that then? Are you scooping it out with your?
I imagine it like a
with
jam
your toothbrush,
and you just shove your toothbrush in the middle of it.
Dip it in and then dip out. Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. But
so
there are some alternatives there, kids. So and adults.
Yeah.
So so there you go. There is some more green initiative there. Look at us trying to save the planet.
We are.
Anyway, what's been happening in the last week, Matt?
Well, the most not the most exciting, but one thing that I thoroughly enjoyed, I finished yesterday, was watching Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid.
Just the first what? Just the first one you watched?
Just the first one I've watched so far.
It took you a week?
No, it did take me a week.
I know what you're like for watching things
Over
in
2 nights, this was.
chunks.
Over 2 nights. Um,
How long was the runtime? An hour and 20? Or...
it's the extended cut, 36 hours. Yeah. That's why it took so long. It's a film that I saw countless times. Like growing up, because it came out in '84. I would have been 6, but probably watched it when it was on TV and stuff like that. I don't think I ever saw it in cinema, and loved it. But in recent years, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it. It's probably been at least 20 years since I last saw it.
Really?
And it's a film that I remembered probably just with it was a cool 80s film. Like, I think now you see so much of the nostalgia and the retro sort of element around these films that you sort of almost like shove them all into one thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's the same as, that's just an 80s film. But since recently, where sort of my eldest son is now 12, I've been introduced him to the older films. So we've seen Ghostbusters, we watched all the Back to the Future films recently. And so as a result, I've been sort of revisiting them. All the Karate Kid films are now on Amazon Prime. So sort of prime opportunity to no pun intended, to watch them. And yeah, the Karate Kid is an amazing film. It's not, really well acted. There's some really, I think, him moving to this new school, he's treated really badly by the Cobra Kai, that sort of group of kids, and the sort of the violence sounds too strong a word, but they really beat him up, and you see it there, that the physical harm they're doing to him, and he's completely broken and he hates it, and being there, and Mr. Miyagi is his savior in it. And the moments where you see it, which I completely forgot about, when sort of Mr. Miyagi gets drunk and he's remembering his wife and child who died and things like that, and they're really well acted. It's really deep in places, but not in I think in a really credible sort of way. It fits with the story. It's really well written. It's really well acted. There are some bits which are stereotypical American 80s film, but overall I absolutely loved it. I came away from it thinking, wow, that is a brilliant film. That really stands up now.
What was his name? Danny Zuko, wasn't it?
Was it Zuko?
Oh no, that's Greece.
That's Greece.
Daniel.
He's got an Italian American surname. Yeah. I can't think of what his
not
surname.
Zuko.
No. But amazing film. Really impressed.
I haven't seen that for quite some time, but again, I bet I could watch that now and enjoy it just as much. It was such a good film.
Yeah,
and I wonder if, because was it 3 with Danny, or was there only 2 and then they had a girl, didn't they?
Well, yeah, looking on Amazon Prime, because it's sort of, as you've watched one, it then tells you about the other ones. There's Karate Kid 1, 2, 3, and then there's the next Karate Kid, which looking at the picture, it's got a girl in it. But I remember seeing, I'm sure I've probably seen 2 and 3, but I don't remember sort of seeing the third one at all. So I've no idea. And to be honest, I want to watch the others, but I don't know whether I'll watch that one, because it's like watching Home Alone 4, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah. I think if you associate a certain character with a film, so when they try and reboot it's probably not going for a reboot. It's a follow-on, but it's starting afresh again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not the same. But speaking of kids, apologies for any listeners, and you, Matt, 'cause you can probably hear my 7-month-old in the background who's just woke up and found her voice. What was the age rating on that? Was it? It wasn't PG.
Surprisingly, it was a 15.
But you say surprisingly, but like you say, with the violence in it, that's what I was thinking. Because in my head, surely if that was a PG, you probably wouldn't have taken your kids at such a young age.
But that's it. I remember it as like a Sunday afternoon thing on the
film,
TV.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that it was that rating. Unless I know with some of the 80s films, I think a lot of them were sort of PGs, but they're quite close to the mark with some of the content and things like that. So I don't know whether it's been re-rated, but Yeah, I was quite surprised. But apart from that, I mean, it's got the violence is quite sort of brutal, and it's even in the sort of the karate scenes, the sensei of the Cobra Kai is encouraging his people to physically
Yeah,
hurt
yeah.
him, and you know you can see he's in a lot of pain and stuff like that. But there's the odd bit of swearing, but apart from that, I
I just
guess
love,
they edited it for the TV. I
yeah.
guess is all they
I
did.
just, I just love the journey that he goes on,
Mm?
like you say, through the kind of bullying as such
Yeah,
within the martial arts and the tournaments and things like that. But then the redemption that he gets
yeah,
um, towards
exactly.
the end. I
That
mean, it's
last
an
kick
old,
to the face
yeah, and
when
but
he's doing the
even
crane.
yeah, but even with the injuries and things like that that he
Mm.
gets, and I can't remember if it was the second one or the third one where he's pretty much on one leg.
No, and this is the first one
In the
because
first one,
they
was it? Yeah,
in one of the sort of heats they injure his leg,
yeah,
and then sort of when this guy that's it. He in the semi-final, the guy, the sensei of Cobra Kai, tells the guy to injure him, and he
mm,
says, "Oh, but that means I'm disqualified." It's like, no, you've got to injure him. So like
mm.
he purposely nearly breaks his leg, so not when he goes through to the final, that's
He's already
his weak
handicapped to
point.
some
Is all
extent. Yeah.
exactly that's it. He's already
Yeah.
really hurt.
But
Um,
don't you think, like, even when I think back to that film, like, it was one of them things as a kid you like reenacted the crane kick.
yeah,
Like
exactly. You
like
do.
it was so popular, like not
Yeah,
against each other, but it was just that whole
yeah.
movement and the arms out and on one leg and then
Truly
do the kick.
iconic.
Yeah.
And wax on and wax off and all of
Yeah,
those
like there's
things in
so
it.
many. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The funny thing is, I'd done martial arts as a youngster, and at no point did we do crane kicks.
yeah. It must. I
This
wonder
wasn't
what.
what I signed up for.
There are parts in there. The only one sort of not negative, but the only one thing I picked up on is so if he goes through all this training and he registers for this tournament and beats all these people, but throughout it, he looks like he has no idea what he's doing. Like
Mm,
they're all there and they're strong in their positions as you have to be in martial arts, and he's sort of like, oh God, what am I doing here
yeah,
for most of it? But I guess that's part of the
the
character, isn't it?
story.
He shouldn't really be there because he's not trained for years and that. Some guys put him there, but
Yeah.
yeah. Brilliant film, and it's Daniel LaRusso. I've just looked
Daniel
up. That
LaRusso,
was his character name.
a distant relative to Zuko.
There you go. Yeah,
And we'll save our Grease chat for
on to
season 3.
the Grease
Um,
special.
yeah, but and we're going to do all the songs, aren't we?
Yeah,
I've been watching something that's also got violent themes to it. Over the last couple of weeks, we started watching Line of Duty, which is a BBC crime drama, um, one where you're guessing who's done what and who's killed
right.
someone or whatever. And it is so good. I didn't realise how good it was. I think this started in like 2012 as well, like the first series, and I think they're now doing somehow under everything that's going on. They're now doing season 6, and they're only like 5 or 6 episodes per series, so and they're about an hour long. So it, kind of been doing one episode a night, maybe 2 at a push, but
Yeah,
it's it's such a good cast, and there's that you have kind of a kind of big named actor or actress in each series, and the early ones they weren't as kind of, for me, not as well known. But this, I'm watching season 4 at the moment, just coming to the end of that, and that's got Tandy Newton in.
right.
She's kind of one of the main people, and the whole point of the story in this Line of Duty is that you follow AC-12, which is oh, what does that stand for? I've literally just forgot what they even stand for, but it's anti-corruption. That's it.
Right. Okay.
So they're looking at from within the police force and looking at different cover-ups or people involved in things. And there's a reoccurring theme that goes through all the series, and it's not like it's really long drawn out because you'll
Mm,
have a main story, but in the background there's a link to something that's gone
right.
on in the previous. It is so good, Matt. I really recommend it if you're into that
Mm,
sort of style of show. I couldn't recommend it even more. And just to lighten the mood, because it is really violent, and some of the, you're seeing people getting shot or whatever. And I won't give you any spoilers, but just to balance it out, I've also at the same time an easy watch in the background has been The American Office,
Right.
which I'd kind of made it all the way to I think series 8, and then kind of dipped out of it again. But I finished that off as well because they're really easy watch. But again, so good if you get a chance.
Definitely. No, but problem I find is that, and this is purely down to me, is there are lots of really good, really sort of well-written sort of dramas on the BBC and sort of British dramas and that. A lot of them just don't appeal to me, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just that I've been brought up, I might have said this before, brought up conditioned by American entertainment, but there's just it just doesn't instantly appeal. And I know I'm completely wrong with this, especially because one of the things we're just finishing off and we got one episode to go is Killing Eve, which is incredible. We're just last episode of season 3 we've got to watch now. Amazing, so well written, so well acted, just everything about it is just great. And there are lots and lots of things out there, of a similar nature, but yeah, definitely we'll check that out. So a couple of things that caught my eye this week. Firstly, which will be an interesting prospect, there have been research being done. It's Stanford University and University of Pittsburgh have been doing studies on how to tell whether people are drunk or under the influence, but specifically using a smartphone to do that. So in a smartphone, it has what's called accelerometers, which are particularly used if you're playing games and you can tilt it and drive and things like that, and they serve all different purposes in there. So what they've been doing is using those with a special app, and basically initially with the test, though, it wouldn't. The end result of this is they could have a phone, and it would be in your phone as standard, and it would prevent you from doing certain things if it could tell you were drunk. And the idea is, it could potentially prevent you driving home or prevent you doing certain things. But at the moment, the technology only works when they've strapped the phone to your back. So you've got the phone at the small of your back, so I guess it picks up the movement correctly. But 50% of the test subjects didn't know that they were actually drunk at the time. So like they were gradually giving them more and more alcohol. But in the test, 50% of people didn't actually realise that their movement and that was impaired. So it is the case. A lot of people say, oh, I'm all right to do whatever, but it was the case that they weren't. And they were gradually giving them more and more vodka, apparently.
I mean, it sounds like a great night.
Well, exactly. Over a 7-hour period, just primed with a load of vodka. But the technology itself had an accuracy of 90%. So, even in its current form, works. Definitely.
Well,
what do you think of things like that?
I can tell you there's already an app on all mobile devices that will determine whether it will show whether you're drunk or not, and it's called Messages. Because
Correct.
if you look at any of my messages to my wife or to friends when I'm under the influence, they don't make no sense whatsoever. So I mean, I could have saved them a pretty penny of research there.
Unfortunately, that's after the event, though, isn't it? Unless it could pick. That's a good point, though. If it could pick up, like it analysed your message and saw that it was going horribly wrong in terms of what you're typing, that could be a breakthrough.
Warning.
Yeah, exactly. But it does raise an interesting point that it raises in the article, which could go either way, is that if you think people are concerned about phones taking your data, and we've spoke about this many times, if there was a service such as that on your phone and it knew when you was drunk, it would be great with things being more and more connected. Let's say, it could prevent your car from working, let's say, or it could open your front door for you, or, whatever it may be. But equally, as with a lot of these apps, and again, we've spoke about this before, that share your data. What if certain apps knew you were drunk and took advantage of that in terms of advertising? You know, it knew that you were more susceptible to persuasion. Oh, come on, buy this, whatever.
This would be
Because
really good now.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's it. And it could work completely against you, which would be, more of an unethical thing. But it's interesting, isn't it?
I do recall being on a night out and a friend of mine being drunk and booking tickets to go to on a holiday or whatever, and literally booked it there and then while he was under the influence, because he didn't have that kind of mind frame or mindset of really taking reasoning. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, and probably because his other half weren't with him at the time to tell him that as well, and that's another kind of aspect to it. But yeah, it would be interesting to see if they could have some form of technology linked to your phones, because it's the thing that you have. I mean, mine's next to me now. You've always got that on you, haven't you? Most people do anyway. So if it could be enhanced some way, but I guess there's still an element of the whole data protection and making sure that it's all above board and not kind of going too far in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but I guess if they sell it as a safety thing, is there a too far? I suppose with it, isn't it?
Maybe they'll add some sort of part on the phone that you can breathe into, and it just analyzes your alcohol levels that way.
Yeah.
I remember actually being bought one of them once by an old housemate of mine. They actually bought me. Yeah, I don't know whether it was like on a key ring. And you could literally just do it. I mean, never used it. The batteries ran out very quickly, so I didn't replace them. And who takes that out with them? But yeah,
that's sort of almost the sign of an alcoholic, isn't it? If you're walking around for a test thing, just in case.
It was a very bizarre present. She'll know who she is if she's listening.
That's funny, amazing. You could buy that sort of thing.
Yeah, again, don't know how.
I guess it's useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you was there in a pub and your mate drove, but he's had a couple of pints and he's saying to you, "Oh, it's all right, I'll take you lot home." You're like, "Oh, really? You're slurring. Have that and prove to me you're not drunk." You could.
I mean, I'm not a massive drinker. I mean, when I go out with my mates or whatever, I know my limits.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at that. I'll literally be borderline, like I'm going to be sick here, so I'll knock it on the head. And they all might be, drinking 3 or 4 more pints ahead of me or whatever. But I think some people just know, don't they, where their line is. Yeah.
Dear me. Well, the other thing, which is technology related, but nothing to do with alcohol, is about Gmail, or it's linked to Gmail, which I use. Do you use?
Yep.
Such a common thing. My son's at high school, he uses it, and like the suite of services. However, Gmail originated, or the term, it's not exactly Gmail, but the term Gmail originated in 1998. The actual Gmail service with Google didn't start till 2004. They introduced it, but the term Gmail originated in 1998, and it was actually Garfield's email service. So Garfield, the orange cat cartoon cat,
the cartoon character,
eats lasagna, that one.
I love Garfield.
You could have registered in 1998 for Garfield's Gmail and had the what they described as email with catitude was the selling line for this.
God.
Gmail.garfield.com was where you went to register it, and you would have had, I think it does say the sort of domain. Let me see. It would have been Stelio7 at catsrule.garfield.com would have been your.
Oh, mad!
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's mad because I remember Google before Gmail. So like now would be Stelio7 at gmail.com. It used to just be Google Mail, didn't it?
Yeah. So when I first got
googlemail.co.uk
it was Google Mail. And I remember around, God, I think I must go about 2006 or something. But even then, it was still, I think in the UK, it was like invite only. I remember working with a guy who had it, and then I think he could invite me or
Oh, so you
something
can
like
just sign
that.
up for free.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, you could right in the beginning you couldn't, and yeah, it
Mm.
would be like a Google Mail .com address, which they then changed to Gmail.
Mm.
But yeah, I saw this and I just thought it was one of those mad pieces of history that existed, but you had no idea like
Mm.
that was there. I think so. Funny, the weird twist on the story apparently is it appears that some of the email servers still work. So for the example that's given here is there were some files leaked to WikiLeaks regarding Syria, and someone had used a catsraw.garfield.com email address to do
I
it.
mean, I don't know whether that's just embarrassing now, though.
This is
Do you
funny,
know what I
isn't
mean?
it?
Like, it's funny because if it was something really dodgy, but their email was something at Catitude or whatever you said it was,
Yeah, well,
Cats Rule.
catsraw at garfield garfield.com. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really crazy, isn't it? But
yeah.
would there be like thinking of that? I just find it a bit odd. You'd have to really like Garfield, yeah,
Mm.
to have that sort of email. What would the brand be, or what would the thing be that would entice you to have I don't know, Stelio7 at RyanReynolds.com? You know, what would you commit to that you love enough to do it?
That's a good
I
question.
don't really know for
That's a good
me.
question. Um, yeah, I mean, RyanReynolds.com.
I love
Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds dot whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Unless it's your fan crush or something like that. Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah.
he's one of mine, but he's not the top one. I mean, if it was David DB7, something like that, that'd be pretty cool. David Beckham, because that was his
Ah.
thing, DB7 at one point. But yeah, yeah,
It's just, I guess so. It sort of harks back to reading this sort of thing. It harks back to a time where email was still a bit of a novelty. Like it weren't a functional thing that you use
no,
in the way you could now, because you had to log into a computer and it was more of a process rather than it just flashing up on your phone.
mm,
So you probably didn't use it in the same way as I don't know, correspondence on all different sort of professional levels that
yeah.
you probably would have that.
I would have set mine up literally just to use MSN Messenger or whatever it was back in the day in
Mm.
my kind of teen years or whatever. And I've still got the same email address now, which is a
Did you?
Hotmail account. Yep, still
That's
use the
mad.
same one.
I had Hotmail.
Stelio7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
crazy.
that is where the Stelio7 originates from. How mad is that?
Vintage
It's
is
vintage.
what that
That's
is.
got to be
Yeah,
like 20 years old now, that
it's
Hotmail account.
amazing.
Maybe
Yeah,
even more, just over. But yeah, Stelio7, because Steely7 was taken and
yeah,
Stelio7's just stuck now, and I use it for everything. So
amazing.
um,
At the time,
yeah.
though, Hotmail, my first one was Hotmail, but and Hotmail was sort of like a revolution in the sense, you know, that it was just easy to set up. You logged into a website, there it was. You had email,
Mm,
brilliant, you know,
yeah.
and it's fantastic. I can't remember what my first. I've changed my email address loads. Yeah, I can't remember what my first name was, but yeah,
Now it's what matters, which is King P.
yeah.
You mentioned Ryan Reynolds there.
Mm,
And that's a good bit of news because we spoke about this earlier today, or we've at least shared it with each other, or
mm,
you shared it with me, which was his aviation gin company sold to
yeah.
a British firm.
To
Um,
Diageo, I think it
yeah,
was,
that's
wasn't it?
it.
Which
Yeah,
a
yeah, it's
huge
Diageo,
sort of alcohol
yeah,
company. It's
yeah.
incredible, isn't it?
And you kindly, along with our colleagues, purchased me a bottle of aviation gin for my birthday this year,
The key
which
question is, have you drunk any
I
of it
still
yet?
haven't tried it yet. I
Brilliant.
actually took it round a friend's house recently for a lads' night, and we moved on to whiskey after beers and things like that. And then the night came to an end, and we hadn't cracked it open. So maybe for next time. I feel like I've got to be in the right frame of mind because I usually start with beers and I'll end up on spirits. So it's not one that I'd just go, oh, I'm going to just have a cheeky gin and tonic or whatever.
I do find gin quite it's not something I reach for that often. It's sort of my wife has been through a phase of trying
Yeah.
different sort of flavored gins and things like that, and
Do
getting into those.
you ever
But
try?
I really don't get on with the taste of gin. And there's just something about it that just doesn't sit well with me.
Well, do you remember when, and this is going back probably 2 or 3 years now, maybe even a bit longer, in Norwich where we're based, they opened up a bar called the Gin Palace,
Mm,
and I took friends there, hadn't even tried gin before, but because of all the flavors, I think at the time I was really into kind of flavored ciders and things like that. So you get all the fruit ciders and things like
yeah,
that. And to me, with the menu for all these different flavored gins and things like that, and the tonic to go with it, it seemed like a match made in heaven. I thought, well, there's all these different fruity flavors and twists on it. I'm gonna love it. I remember
mm,
getting that first glass. It cost me an absolute
yeah,
fortune.
really
Tried it,
expensive.
and it was like paint stripper. And
Yeah,
that's no offense to the bar, but it just didn't agree with me.
yeah.
I have since tried some, and this is why I kind of was happy when you bought me my gin. I have since tried some, but had it with lemonade, and
Right.
it's so much better. The tonic is too bitter for me. There's just something about it
You can
where
probably taste the gin too much, to be
yeah, well
honest,
that's
is what
it.
it
And
is,
the
isn't it?
lemonade just takes it, and it is really nice. Like there's from friends of mine who do like it, they tell me there's certain ones that are better than others, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. But $365 million, wasn't it? Something like that.
No, in total, I just found the article. In total, it was 610 million US dollars. The company will have an upfront payment of
Right,
335 million.
right. That's probably what I
Um,
saw.
and then I'm
Don't
guessing
take my word from it.
they
I
get the
don't.
rest. Oh yeah, there you go. A potential. I think the rest of it is being paid based on the brand's performance over the
Mm,
next sort of couple of years or so. But it's incredible. But it appears, reading it in the article, it appears that he bought the company.
yeah,
Because he said over 2 years ago, I became the owner of Aviation Gin because I loved the taste of aviation more than any other spirit.
yeah. Well,
And that's
but
quite a
that's the thing.
payday, isn't it?
He done so much
Yeah,
advertising for it, like hilarious as well. I mean,
yeah.
we were sharing them around the office, I
Mm.
remember, because they were, just tickled you every time. Like they
Yeah,
were really tongue
they
in
were
cheek, and
fantastic.
it was almost like a bit of a joke as well
Yeah.
against it. But it was,
Which I guess is what they've got to ensure, isn't it? They can't just
yeah,
sell it and then he's out the picture, because then who's going to
yeah.
advertise it, isn't it? It's so much part of him.
But isn't it interesting? Just thinking back to earlier episodes that we done, we talked about one where wasn't it Slipknot had
Mm.
purchased a
And a
rum
whiskey,
or
I
a
think,
whiskey.
or
That's it,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then you've got The Rock. He's got Dwayne Johnson. He's got his
yeah,
own tequila that he's
yeah,
and alcohol does seem to be an area that a lot of celebrities are
yeah.
investing in now.
Jay-Z and Beyonce own the champagne. Can't remember what that's called. And Puffy, or Diddy, whatever he calls himself now, is Ciroc. Is that
Oh yeah, Ciroc. Yeah, yeah. I've heard
vodka?
of
Is that maybe? I
that.
can't remember, but it's something
I'm
like
not a
that, I'm sure.
vodka drinker, but
But
yeah, I think.
on the article, apparently, sort of recently, oh no, a few years ago, Diageo also acquired a company part owned by George Clooney, which was Tequila Company, and
That's it. Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
that sold for 700 million.
Mm.
So clearly, yeah, as you said, there's a business in it. But in a weird way, it goes back to that the Garfield thing. That was an email account because you thought, wow, I really love Garfield. But do you love a drink because it's endorsed by someone else? An
Mm.
Aviation Gin was great because of the adverts, and I guess it just sparks that curiosity, doesn't it? Oh, I wonder what that tastes like. That's
Mm. And yeah, but you see that across all different things, don't you? Like with aftershaves and perfumes that are we mentioned
Well,
Beckham
yeah, I
before.
guess so.
You buy that because David Beckham's got it, or Beyonce, another one, she's got her own, and all
Yeah.
these celebrities they'll go into that kind of
Mm,
if it's their own brand,
yeah.
then I mean, they're not at home making it. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that baffles people.
Yeah.
They've endorsed it essentially,
That's
and just to add to
crossover, isn't it?
their portfolio of things, I guess.
But I remember years and years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, but do you remember vitamin water? I don't know, Glacial. I think it was a Coca-Cola own, or no, Coca-Cola bought it. It looked like juice in sort of brightly coloured bottles, and each one had different vitamin
Right.
content or whatever. Apparently,
Rings a bell.
full of sugar though, so it weren't good for you. But now marketing it is good for you. 50 Cent did adverts for that when he was in his prime, probably 10 or so years ago. And when he did the adverts, he said to them, well, you know, I want don't pay me. I think this is correct as a story. Don't pay me, just give me shares in the business. And it was quite an early business at the time. And then Coca-Cola bought the business because it was really successful. And the company sold for 4.1 billion. And I think he got something like 500 million or is that like 500 million, whatever, for it. Yeah. So, you know, it shows you the power of that. Well, and from that point of view, he's clever business, you know.
But that's it. I mean, if you're of high profile, you're immediately opening up a particular product to a whole following of that
millions
that
and millions
person.
of people.
Yeah. So they'll go and try it just because they're a fan of him or her, and then slowly the sale numbers go up, and then it becomes more of a big investment for other firms to pick up, I guess.
Yeah.
Big money.
Very big money. So when This Week in Metropolis, don't know, what could we do?
We like our owls at the moment, don't we?
We do, yeah. Nice
our
craft
IPAs.
ale would be nice.
Yeah, This Week in Metropolis craft ale. It could just be called Metropolis.
Or we could just aim for a lower market and do 5 litre bottles of cider with This Week in Metropolis on. Yeah.
Mate, we're open to any options. Yeah, if there are any
brewers
listening,
out there,
yeah, we're ready. We can do the artwork. Anything. We've got all that covered. Yeah.
Panda Pops.
Speaking of us being available, Matt, for opportunities, something that we should mention is the Out of the Blank podcast, which I featured on. I was actually on the show. I think it was a week ago now, just over a week ago, and it went live on their channel last night. So if you get a chance, check that out. They've got a really good thing going, and you're going to be making an appearance on it over the coming days.
Indeed, I watched your episode earlier. So it's a great watch slash listen, however you want to do it. And I think it's a nice opportunity to get to know us as individuals, I guess, isn't it? Rather than in this sort of format. But really.
And hopefully we're going to get on together as well at some point. So keep an eye out for that. We have shared it on our Instagram page. So
check it out.
If you do want to check out, I'm on that one. Yeah. As Matt said, this is the season finale, and next series, which will be in a couple of weeks, we'll start back up again. We're hoping to get a few different guests on ourselves. So
we've already got quite a lot of interest of people knocking on the door to join us, which is fantastic because I think it does really add an extra dimension to what we do.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Definitely. Well, that is it then for episode 10.
It is it. That is the end. Keep an eye out over the 2 weeks when we're having this short break because, well, even within the next couple of days, there is some quite big news coming from our front. So keep an eye out on social media for that. But yeah, you can find us at the This Week in Metropolis website. So just search for thisweekinmetropolis.com and you'll find us there with links to all our social media pages and to our anchor site, which will then lead you on to the different platforms that we're on: Spotify, Apple, Google. We're on them all.
And please do, if you do enjoy what we do and sort of listen on any of the platforms, do please follow or give us a like let us know your name. By all means, any comments are very, very welcome. We have a lot of fun reading those and sharing those too.
Yeah, definitely. But thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of our journey, and we will speak to you in a couple of weeks.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Transmission over.